Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be continuing the fretboard mastery series. So for this video we're just going to be using some basic chord shapes. We're going to be using the E major chord shape. We're going to be using C major. We're going to be using A major. We're also going to be using the minor forms of all of those. So E minor, A minor, and C minor, which you may not know because it's more of a, not used very often kind of sound like that. People more use it like that. So let's get started. So initially what we're going to do is just a bit of a warm-up kind of thing. If you've never played bar chords before, bar chords are difficult and can be very frustrating and strenuous. So what you need to do is start with a basic bar chord sort of warm-up every day, even if it's hurt your hand, even if you don't like it, even if you're frustrated. You need to do it anyway because eventually you won't be frustrated forever. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to start just by playing first string, second fret. Then we're going to move our index finger up to bar two strings on the second fret. Then try to play both. Try to get clean sound out of both. Then we'll do 3 strings, 4 strings, 5 strings, 6 strings. This doesn't take very long for me because I've played bar chords a lot. But if you're just getting started out, this may take some time, and that's okay. So then what you're going to want to do, let's go back to 2 strings. Then try to play the 3rd fret and then the 2nd fret of both strings, kind of like this, just as an exercise. And then same thing, move to 3 strings and try to do that for all 3 strings while barring that chord. And then 4 strings. It may not sound necessarily musical, but the goal is just to get your fingers moving and get them warmed up and used to this kind of thing. So 5 strings, 6 strings. Then you could do the same thing with going back to 2 strings and now using your ring finger on the 4th fret. 3 strings, 4 strings, 5 strings, 6 strings. When you're doing this, you can hear the chord continues to ring out as I move through playing 4th fret, then 2nd fret. So you can hear every previous note as well. So then we go back to 2 strings and do the pinky. 3 strings, 4 strings, 5 strings, 6 strings. And you can even do different combinations of those. You could do pinky, ring, and middle all at the same time while still holding the bar. And this is just a great warm-up exercise. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with our E major chord. Okay, so in a previous video I talked about how to find notes on guitar. It's a little bit important for this because on the 6th string, the E string, wherever your finger is on that string, that's what the name of the chord is going to be. So let's say you're playing 3rd string and your index finger is barring all 6 strings and you're playing an E major shape. It's going to be a G because you're holding down. The bottom note on the 6th string is a G. Okay? So to get you started with this bar chord, we need to change how we're holding our chord. Okay, so at first we use these 3 fingers, right? But now what we're going to do is switch it to these 3 fingers. Okay, so it'll go ring, 2nd fret, pinky, 2nd fret, then middle, 1st fret. So now it should sound like that. Because what has to happen is our index finger, as we slide this up 1 fret, our index finger now has to hold down all of the 1st fret. Okay? So if you remember it in that previous video about how I talked about how to find notes on guitar, I said one move equals one fret. So if we move the E major chord, essentially what we have to do is we have to add 1 to each of the frets, even the zeros. So 0 becomes 1, 2 becomes 3, 2 becomes 3, 1 becomes 2, 0 becomes 1, 0 becomes 1 there. And now we have, this is an F major. Because on the 6th string, I have an F note as the lowest note. Okay? So that's going to be an F chord right there. Now, same thing with E minor. Let's say I want to move E minor. All I do now is do the same thing, keep the same shape, move it up 1 fret, and now I have F minor. So my index finger is barring all 6 strings on the 1st fret. And then my ring finger and my pinky are playing the 3rd fret on the 4th and 5th strings. Okay? So like I said before, this bottom note on the 6th string will determine the name of the chord. So if I'm playing 5th fret, you know, we're thinking E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. That's the 5th fret right there. So if I play a minor shape right there, my E minor shape, then I am getting an A minor chord right there. Now if I were to play my E major shape, I would get A major. Okay, now let's move on. Let's move on to our A shape. Okay, so our A shape, originally we play like this, right? Now for our bar chord, same thing that we did before. We have to switch it from these 3 fingers to these 3 fingers. Okay, so all on 2nd fret, we have middle finger on top, then ring finger, then pinky, all 2nd fret. Then we play our A chord like that. Now let's say we move this up to the 2nd fret. My index finger is going to hold down 5 strings, because that's how many we play originally, is 5 strings. So my index finger is going to hold down 5 strings, and then I have 3 fingers holding down the 4th fret, just like my original A major shape. But now, again, the lowest note, which is 5th string now, is determining the name of the chord. So on 5th string, that's the A string. I have A sharp, B. So now I have a B major chord. If I move it up 1 more fret, B goes to C. C major chord. If I move it up 2 more, C, C sharp, D, D major chord. Same thing if I start with minor. Normally A minor is played with these 3 fingers. We move it to these 3 fingers. So now our A minor shape starts with ring finger, pinky, both 2nd fret, and then 1st fret 2nd string with our middle finger. So now if we move this chord up, let's say to the 2nd fret where we had the B major, now we have B minor. So index finger is holding down every fret or every string on the 2nd fret. Well, 5 strings. Index finger is holding down 5 strings on the 2nd fret. And then my other 3 fingers are holding down 4th fret, 4th fret, 3rd fret. Now we can do the same thing with C major. Start with these 3 fingers and then move it to these 3 fingers. This is a little more tricky. Okay? So then if we move this up 2 frets, we have to add 2 to every number, right? So then 0 becomes 2, 0 becomes 2, 1 becomes 3, 2 becomes 4, and 3 becomes 5, right? Just doing some simple math there. So if we play all those, though, we get this complicated sort of shape, right? Where our index finger's barring 3 strings, and then we have a C shape going on with our other 3 fingers. It's a real stretch. It's a healthy stretch. It's one to practice. It's one to practice and work on. It's good for you. Okay, so we can do the same thing with C minor, but this is a lot more, this is pretty tricky to do, okay? Now what we need to do is switch over to where we play the C minor chord with these 3 fingers here, okay? And this one's really tricky. And then we add this finger here. This isn't necessarily a barre chord because you're not barring any notes, but it's a good one just to know, to have in your vocabulary, to have in your back pocket. There won't be many places you'll use it, but sweeps. And now this is for players who already know some stuff about barre chords and who already know what's going on. But what you can do is take these barre chords and begin to play them one at a time. We call these arpeggios. And then do a sweep motion as you go. The warm-up kind of thing that you can do with this is try picking out your favorite songs, but use sweeps instead of, strumming the chord. Because, strumming the chord, everybody can do that, right? But you weren't able to do that at first. So the idea is, if you want to get good at a pattern, take progressions just like you did before and add a new technique to it, and then develop that technique doing that. So let's take like a simple progression like Autumn Leaves, okay? So we start with A minor, right? And then we go to D major. And then we go to G major, right? And then we go to C major. And then we go to F sharp diminished, half diminished. And then we go to B major, right? And now we're at E minor. And then you can go through that again. You can do that all kinds of progressions, all kinds of speeds. It's just a great thing to use these barre chords, use these patterns, but instead of just playing them as a sweep. All right, guys, thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. Hopefully this video helps you all, and I'll see you next time.